This is a bloodthirsty species of piranha. Its teeth are incredibly sharp and unnaturally hard. It can tear a human apart in an instant. Biologist Carl took out a fossil specimen. He explained that this creature had gone extinct over 10,000 years ago. But why would such a savage species of piranha appear in this quiet town? It turned out that a few weeks ago, an old man threw an empty bottle into the lake while fishing. This caused a localized earthquake in the area. A massive crack, about 10 meters long, opened up at the bottom of the lake. Tens of thousands of piranhas swam out through the fissure. Because of the crack, a giant whirlpool formed on the surface of the lake. The old man quickly started his boat, trying to escape, but the current was too strong, and he accidentally fell into the lake. In an instant, the piranhas swarmed around him. Within moments, the old man showed no signs of life. After receiving the report, the police rushed to the scene immediately. After a thorough search, they discovered the old man's boat. Sheriff Julie reached out her hand, trying to pull the boat back. However, she lost her balance and fell into the water. Officer Sam quickly moved to pull her back to shore. Just then, a corpse suddenly floated up from beneath the surface. It was the old man's body. However, it had been gnawed beyond recognition. The two officers concluded that something terrifying must be lurking in the lake. The next day, Peter and Julie brought equipment to the lake to investigate the situation. Using a sonar device, they discovered the fissure that had formed due to the earthquake. After confirming the exact location, two researchers suited up in diving gear and entered the water to explore. Soon, they found a narrow opening and decided to swim inside. There, they saw countless crystal-clear, rod-shaped objects. Unbeknownst to them, these were actually piranha embryos. Just as one of the men was about to reach out and touch them, something suddenly bit him. Bright red blood instantly spread through the water. A deep sense of unease washed over him. When he turned on his flashlight, he was horrified to see a swarm of piranhas. Before the man could even process what was happening, the piranhas launched a frenzied attack. Meanwhile, his teammate, sensing that something was wrong, tried to go in and check on him. Little did she know, she had also become the piranha's next target. Hearing the distress signal, another teammate quickly suited up in diving gear. He immediately jumped into the water to rescue the fallen team members. Although he managed to drag one of them back onto the boat, all that was left was a skeleton. Beside the remains, a still wriggling piranha was found. Determined to uncover the origin of these piranhas, Sheriff Julie brought the creature to biologist Carl. From Carl, they learned just how terrifying these piranhas truly were. Due to living in darkness for so long, their vision had severely degenerated. However, their hearing and sense of smell had become extraordinarily enhanced. At the same time, they had grown even more bloodthirsty and ferocious. It was almost unimaginable what kind of catastrophe such a large number of them could cause in a modern lake. Upon hearing this, Julie immediately realized the gravity of the situation. Today, the town was hosting its annual water carnival. She quickly led her team to the scene. When they arrived, they found the area already crowded with countless tourists. The officers immediately began evacuating the area. They shouted for the party to end and for everyone to move away from the water. However, the noise at the scene was so loud, no one could hear their warnings. Frustrated, Sam had no choice but to fire a warning shot. He signaled for everyone to leave the water immediately, but what they didn't expect was that their well-meaning warning had the opposite effect. It only made the tourists more frantic. They ignored the advice and jumped into the water. Some even cranked up the music to the maximum volume. Julie grabbed the loudspeaker and tried to reason with them, but the overwhelming noise had already attracted the piranhas.
They're sleeping.
Faced with this situation, the officers were at a loss. They could only try their best to carry out rescues, but at that moment, the stage couldn't handle the pressure. It tilted and fell straight into the water. In a panic, Peter quickly jumped onto a speedboat. He grabbed a shotgun and started shooting at piranhas. Sam, in an effort to cover the tourists as they made their way to shore, immediately took off the propeller, but facing the relentless wave of piranhas, Sam couldn't hold on for much longer and was soon overwhelmed. When everything finally settled, the scene at the party was horrific. The tourists were either dead or injured, with severed limbs and arms scattered everywhere. Julie was tending to the wounds of the injured when she suddenly received a phone call from her son. Jake, he said that they, too, were being attacked by piranhas. Upon hearing that her 3 children were in danger, Julie immediately panicked. She rushed over with Peter. It turned out that just moments ago, Jake had taken his younger brother and sister, and they were out on a yacht with their friends, enjoying the lake, but they accidentally crashed into a rock beneath the water. 2 of them fell into the water. A school of piranhas quickly surrounded them. In an instant, the woman was devoured. The man, terrified, quickly surfaced. He desperately swam toward the yacht. The woman on the boat, holding a paddle, was about to help, but before she could, the man was attacked by the piranhas. Although he was pulled back onto the boat, his entire lower body was a mangled mess of flesh and bone. Not long after, he succumbed to blood loss and died. What made things even worse was that Kelly was trapped in the cabin. As the water level kept rising, a large number of piranhas swam into the cabin. Kelly could only stand on higher ground, shouting desperately for help to Jake outside. Jake tried to open the skylight, but he quickly realized it was completely stuck. On the other side, Julie and Peter had arrived. Worried about hitting the rocks, she could only stop the boat a short distance away. Then, she threw over a rope. Once Jake tied the other end of the rope, he climbed up the yacht using it. After learning that there was still someone trapped in the cabin, Julie began trying to figure out how to rescue them, but even she couldn't open the jammed skylight. The only access point was completely submerged in water. Inside, the cabin was filled with ferocious piranhas. Helpless, Julie had no choice but to first get the woman and 2 children to a safe boat. Then, she would figure out how to rescue Kelly. The water was teeming with piranhas. One wrong move, and there would be nothing left of them. But they made a fatal mistake. They shouldn't have had all 4 of them climb over at once. As expected, halfway through, the rope was already sinking dangerously close to the water's surface. The woman at the front was immediately attacked by the piranhas. In a panic, she began to struggle violently. Soon, her strength gave out, and she fell into the water, where the piranhas savagely tore her apart. The others, witnessing this horrifying scene, rushed to climb faster to the other side. The 2 children made it safely onto the boat, but just then, the handrail suddenly broke off. Fortunately, Peter stepped on the gas and successfully rescued Julie. Julie made it safely back onto the boat. However, on the other side, the water had already risen to Kelly's feet. The piranhas were starting to stir. Kelly could only use a frying pan to fight them off. Seeing his girlfriend Kelly in mortal danger, Jake didn't climb over to join his mother Julie. Instead, he untied the rope and tied it around himself. He came up with a plan to rescue Kelly. The idea was to use the bodies of their fallen companions to distract the piranhas. When Jake tossed a body into the water, the piranhas in the cabin immediately swarmed toward it. Taking advantage of the distraction, Jake quietly jumped into the water from the side. Jake quickly dove under the boat and into the cabin. After successfully reuniting with Kelly, Jake quickly contacted his mother via the radio. He instructed them to prepare the boat to pull the 2 of them out. After speaking, Jake found a burning stick. He then dove back into the water, opening 2 gas canisters. He intended to blow up the piranhas after they left. Once everything was set, Jake called his mother. 10 seconds later, they sped off. The 2 of them then dove back into the water. However, they had no idea that an accident was happening outside. At that moment, the speedboat failed to start. Meanwhile, Jake had already lit the burning stick and thrown it into the cabin. To make matters worse, the piranhas had finished eating the bodies of their companions. The massive explosion killed a large group of piranhas. Jake and Kelly were successfully rescued, but just as everyone was celebrating their survival, Julie suddenly received a call from Carl. Carl claimed that they might be facing a big problem. The piranha they brought back didn't have fully developed reproductive organs, and those piranhas that attacked them were just a group of immature juveniles. Upon hearing this, Peter looked confused.
So, where are the parents?